Welcome back to episode 28 of What If History Restarted. Last episode, I did fulfill my promise of mostly focusing in on Asia. So we saw a war down in India, Bangladesh, and that red Indian thing united. In this, I kind of accidentally made them really powerful, but that's fine, I guess. There's some stuff between Baikal and Squidward, China, because they kept, acting like each other's land was their own, even though it really isn't. But, yeah. So this is also where we're going to be picking it up today, because Baikal is going to start using their navy off of this kind of port city, and so from here they kind of just, start patrolling the sea. They have their ships, all up around, major cities, and it's pretty obvious that they're just kind of, spying on them, and also maybe occasionally stealing things. So, Squidward China really wants to go to war with Baikal, but Korea says no, because Baikal would probably destroy them, and even if it didn't, it would still probably team up with the Upside Down Triangle Alliance, and all that together. They definitely cannot win. Their only ally, really, well, they have Malaysia, this tiny tip of India, and Bangladesh, but that's it. So, they do not do anything yet, but Baikal is being very annoying. Anyway, we were also looking down here in Indonesia, because Korea started pretty much just colonizing it, and so they're going to keep trying to do that as they explore a lot more of this ocean. I don't know why it does that. But eventually they find all of Papua New Guinea as well as Australia. And if you can't tell, there are some established civilizations here. So, if we could get this right. They don't need to go too far into exploring the land, at least not in Australia. However, Korea pretty much just goes ahead and starts taking all of Papua New Guinea, all the unclaimed land at least, even kind of island hopping out here. I believe those are the Solomon Islands, and soon enough they're gonna wipe out this one, Papua New Guinea country. And so the rest of Australia is pretty terrified. However, they do actually have some pretty nice boats here, so they just kind of line them up around here and to send the message to Korea to stop coming down here. But Korea does not care, really. They do stop, but that's just because it's too far away now. Going from Korea to Australia, and especially in these days, this is still early-ish, kind of middle-ish medieval times. Going all the way from here to here is definitely going to be very difficult, so they were going to stop anyway. Regardless, that leads to more expansion from Australia, who's getting kind of concerned now. So these Australian countries, but mainly the pink ones, start expanding. But we also see a little bit from the southern gold one. Anyway, moving over here to Iceland, some people from all across Europe are going to kind of just leave and go to them, because Europe's very hostile right now, and some people, don't like that, because they don't want to be in a big old war. There's this, obviously, mainland Europe, there's two big alliances, kind of just controlling everything, and then the British Isles are pretty violent. Only real safe places, like Scandinavia, but not a lot of people even live there. So pretty much just people from all over just kind of come up here and make a new country up in Iceland. Make them, that looks terrible. Sure, I think that's the same color as they are in WICSO, but that's fine. So Iceland exists now, and they're just going to be chilling. Anyway, speaking of Scandinavia, I just said it was a pretty peaceful place, but that's about to change, because this country is under a lot of pressure from the Star and Square alliances to join them. I guess it's Norway. And, they start getting, influenced by those ideas. If we look at the religion map, They are technically a slightly different religion from the blue, but it is kind of the same thing. Why is the water like this? Let's just do it like, yep. And then we'll make Antarctica white. There you go. But yeah, so these dark blue religion people, they are still from the blue ethnicity, but just a subset of it. And so some people are, especially in the south, but when I say south, I mean like the very far south, like this. These people are slightly more aligned to Europe, but the people up here definitely still want to be independent. And sure enough, this is going to lead to a three-way civil war. Because first of all, you have the the people who want to be independent up here. And then you have the people in the south, of which there's the people who want to join the star team, and the people who want to join the square team. So the one that wants to join the square team is the strongest. You can see that you have the capital. So they, pretty early on, make a lot of advancements. This one just kind of sticks to claiming this cold forest land. And this one takes out the rest. However, of course, they are not just going to stop here, as they all still want to kill each other. So, first of all, it's mainly, especially between this one and this one. So they start doing that. And the gold one is winning by a lot, as you can tell. However, they are now getting pushed majorly by the more native kind of people. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but they even get split in two. However, they are now fully eradicating this group. And then after that, they are able, because they are stronger, they are able to kind of I don't remember the word, but like reform, basically. And eventually just stalemates like this. So in this peace treaty, we see it's just kind of what you would expect. We have this northern land, which is remaining independent, and then there is this one in the south, the gold one, and they are going to be joining the square team, like they wanted to. No. And of course, this one is going to be staying neutral up here, because that's why they rebelled in the first place. Anyway, over in the British Isles, we see that the Welsh-Irish country is going to unfortunately invade my goat, the Isle of Man. So, rest in peace, Isle of Man. And from there, Yorkshire, whatever, they were previously like the strongest one, but now they're definitely the weakest, and they want to reclaim their former glory. So, what they're going to do is they're going to send out a surprise naval invasion over to London. That's what I'll call this one. So they take the capital, which is not in actual city London. City London's like, it's like right here. But they send there their naval invasion. Starts going pretty well until they run out of troops here, and then it takes too long for them to get another boat over, and then London just repels all their troops. And then Wales, Ireland sees this as a pretty good opportunity to invade them, so they start doing that. With this, these two, Yorkshire and London, kind of realize that Wales is the bigger threat, so now they actually stop fighting just to work together to beat them. However, they are losing by a lot. Yorkshire is completely defeated, but they do manage to finally get that boat out, and they send over a lot of their supplies to London, who now pushes out Wales, and comes right over across the Thames. I think it's Thames. Yeah, Thames. They take the rest of the Thames, as well as this major city, and kind of just isolate out Cornwall. And after a little bit more of this, Wales is going to agree to peace. So, we don't really even have to do that. Wales fully annexes Yorkshire, I think it's Shire. That would make more sense. Even though, like, New Hampshire is New Hampshire, not Shire. But, anyway, London takes pretty much most of the land that they took outside of, like, actual Wales. So that includes this major city and Cornwall. as well as even a little pocket up here, because why not? From there, Wales is pretty happy with the outcome of this war. They did lose a major city, but they did gain a larger city up here. And now they're going to go after Scotland. So, Wales starts going after Scotland, and I mean, Scotland really can't do much against this. They just get wiped out pretty quickly. And so Scotland is fully annexed, with the British Isles now only being down to 2 countries. England, I'm going to call them, and Wales, / Ireland, / Scotland, whatever you would want to call it. And finally, the whole star and square thing is finally going to make its way over to this island, these islands, I guess, as we now see that that England joins the Square Alliance, because, you know, the British Isles are now getting pressured into doing this as well. And obviously, just to oppose that, Wales joins the Star Alliance. So, yes. Up here, St. Petersburg surprises everyone by taking more unclaimed land. And it's still only a tiny bit. I'm sure that's going to help them by a lot. But anyway, speaking of Mr. St. Petersburg, if we take another look at the religion map, they have pretty much their core territory is mostly this one religion. However, as you can see, they still do have a lot of excess land, particularly down here in the southern portion. I believe this is the light red, which is more like one between the 2 alliances countries. So pretty quickly we're going to see a rebellion take place down in the south. It's the cyan colored one, and these guys start marching up all the way like here. Now, St. Petersburg is a very powerful country, but this one is definitely getting backed by both the Star and Square team. This one's kind of playing them both, because it's like taking support from both the Star and the Square team, even though it can only join one. And so eventually this country gets all the way up here, make sure to grab up this major city. But as you can see by now, it is going past its actual religion. It is mostly still the light pink one, but still a little bit of Finland. But first of all, they reclaim all their other brethren, and then take up this other major city, now getting pretty close to St. Petersburg itself. And with that, they're going to sue for peace, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, they just stop it right here. St. Petersburg just lost a hefty chunk of land, which is not great for them. The country's new capital is going to be right here. And now it has to make up its mind on whether it wants to join the Square or the Star team. And it is going to be going for the Star team. If I can get it right. Anyway, St. Petersburg is pretty upset that this just happened to them. So now, to make up for it in their eyes, they're going to go ahead and invade another country, being this northern Scandinavian one. And this one can't really do that much, as once they get to like here, that's like their entire population, so they die. And surprisingly, there is full annexation. St. Petersburg is looking more like Finland now, really, although their capital is still in St. Petersburg. Anyway, these Swedish areas are still part of their religion. However, well, first of all, it doesn't really even matter that much anymore, because as you can see, they are taking over a lot of other religions, and, just kind of ethnic cleansing to help not have them break off. However, now it comes down to just more political stuff, because now its capital is mostly focused in on incorporating all these people, as well as even some of the natives up here. I believe that is Russian. Yes. So while it's busy with incorporating all those people, it's heavily neglecting the people over here in Sweden. We're starting to have a little bit of a famine, and obviously they're going to end up rebelling. And there's already a gold country here, so let's not do that. We can make them red, reddish orange. That is still gold. That is not reddish orange, but I'll take it. So now I just deleted it. I guess it's brown. But this brown Swedish country now starts to rebel, just purely because they want to be their own thing now. They feel like St. Petersburg is being too, focused in on it expanding and not on bettering their own people, especially over here in Finland. So they march up here and take this major city, and after they get access to the coast, St. Petersburg just kind of gives up and says that they can be independent. So now they're going to be that. Let's make this border look nicer. The capital is not going to be in this major city, even though it's the only one they have. They still have one that's pretty close down here, and this is more beneficial for them. But issue is, these guys are more religion tolerant, but that kind of has a bad side effect in a way, because now these dark blue people want independence because they are not being ethnically cleansed. So now in this state which just rebelled, we are now going to have a rebellion take place. Pretty much just all these natives rise up. Well, they aren't even, I guess you'd call them natives. But all the dark blue people here start rising up. And they eventually cut all the way down here and sue for peace. So now its capital is right here. Notably, none of these new Scandinavian countries are joining any alliance. So to help combat that, we're going to see that the Star Team is going to start invading them. Hooray. Scandinavia is very chaotic this episode. But pretty quickly, Denmark starts pushing in here and meets the gates of its capital. But now the gold one, which is on the square team, is going to make a naval invasion across this lake and land up here. And then come to the other side of its capital. And now, there's two set of troops here who hate each other and are actively at war. So of course there's going to eventually be some tensions boiling over, and they're going to start stabbing each other. And so now Denmark and this new square team country are going to start going to war. These guys start pushing out many of these Danish troops here, but that's in this country, not the Danish core land. Danish are mostly focused in on defending this major city, which they do pretty well, and they even take this capital and then move along its coast where most of its population is. But this country is not going to be completely alone in its support from its square team allies, because now, the Netherlands starts reinvading Denmark. So this is a major nuisance to Denmark, as these guys are still fairly strong, and Denmark's troops are all up in Scandinavia right now. So Denmark quickly finishes off the gold one, but actually not fully. Just kind of leave them to these northern freezing cold forests, fjords and stuff. I guess this should technically be a different color too. And now they can start to focus in on the Netherlands, but they have already had their capital taken, so that's not great. They ask Germany to help, and Germany is kind of reluctant to do so. Why are you like that? Let's just fix this alliance symbol right here. But anyway, Germany's kind of reluctant to help them out, but they are going to start supplying them, or not, I don't know, I was pointing to the Netherlands. They start supplying Finland? They start supplying Denmark. And with that, Denmark makes a comeback here. And once again, Denmark is getting, I don't know how I keep confusing the Netherlands and Denmark. But once again, the Netherlands is getting beat up. This is not a good track record for them. They just lost in that war pretty tough, and now they're losing again. So eventually, by this point, we see that this country over here is going to get in on this war, as well as this one up here. And as for Tuscany, their closest ally, Tuscany is going to basically make an agreement with them. The Netherlands know that they're done for, so basically they just give little old Tuscany here permission to just invade them, well, not really invade them, but just occupy them, to try and keep as much square team land as possible. So this is met with little resistance, so it does get pretty well. But with that, there's no more escalation in this war, although these gold people do make a slight comeback. That was too much of a comeback. But yeah, these people make a slight comeback. They do take their capital, but not too much of their land. And now we can look at the peace treaty. I do have to redo that square alliance thing. So, oh, it's probably because I moved the star over. That's what I would assume. Anyway, taking off the alliance map, we will now see how these 3 countries get partitioned, pretty much. And you can barely even see this country. Why is that a thing? I forget. But anyway, Belgium, maybe? That's what I'll call this one. Belgium takes a pretty considerable portion of land, moving all the way up here to where Finland is. Or somehow I keep getting like a 3-way mix-up between Finland, Denmark, and the Netherlands. But anyway, these guys are very coastal now. This one gets a decent portion of land. And Denmark over here gets also most of the northern territory. So now they kind of have a weird border, but it's fine. And the rest is going to go over to Tuscany. So as you can see, this really did not go well for the square team. They did get some land, salvage some for themselves, but not that much. So rest in peace to Denmark. The Netherlands, I keep doing that. Also, I want to change this one's color, because now it looks like Denmark is invading Tuscany. So let's just change its color. Make it like... sure. Anyway, up here, we're going to see that Denmark takes pretty much all the like actual Swedish land of this more Norwegian country, as well as even a nice pocket down here. But these guys are still alive, so that's great for them. We'll move this up as well. Probably also make it smaller. See that? Look how ingenious that is. But anyway, they also managed to take a pretty nice chunk out of the new Swedish one. They do manage to bargain for their capital, but they are like completely surrounded now, so if war breaks out, that's not good for them. Let's also just make this look nicer, as well as this border. We'll just say that they like had a land exchange, these 2 countries. So yeah, that was that Scandinavian conflict. Now we're going to go over here to this general region of Asia, where this country has way too many major cities. It's definitely not that powerful, it's just expansive, big. But anyway, if we look at the trade route map, I mean, it's just, this country is, kind of addicted to trade routes. It was just formed because trade routes existed. It's pretty much just a giant tourist attraction. Or at least that's how it formed. And so it wants to control more of the trade route. So it's going to start trying to do that. It comes in over here and starts taking both these trade routes, meeting up like this, and then taking what's left here. Here, we can do that. Over here, though, some other countries are going to want a piece of this. Mainly being 2, Golden Horde, who takes all of this, as well as good old Indus, who now starts moving up like this. So now this country is getting picked apart by these three external nations, and its people are pretty embarrassed, and some of them are pretty upset with the government. So you can see that the capital, as well as most of the major cities, are in the Russian. It's not. Yes, that is Russian. They're in the main Russian. Most of it is Russian. However, there is still a very big chunk of land down here. It's just not that populated. Only one major city, which is Lime Religion. So this one chunk is going to want its independence now, seeing that its government is failing. This also makes it a perfect opportunity. So make them like this. These guys now form up, and all is going well, except for the green country here. But everyone else is happy, pretty much. They aren't even invading each other. Everyone's just working together to beat up this green guy. So with that, we can now take a look at the peace treaty. I will likely not be able to keep the same color for the rebels because I forget and I accidentally deleted it. But anyway, the Tourist Trap Nation is going to be getting a huge chunk of the country. They did start the war and probably did the most work. They get this entire cross section of the trade routes, so that's nice for them. They're probably the strongest out of their three siblings now. Golden Horde is going to take all of this coastal region, as well as the capital. Looking like that. Maybe do that. Indus is going to be getting a nice southern chunk. It does not include this major city. Now, the people who were rebelling for the Lime Team are somewhat happy to be under Indus, because Indus is Lime Team. However, some of them still do want independence, mostly in this weird whale-shaped thing. Like, you see that, right? This is a whale. Looks like a little whale. So, these people are going to be getting independent. However, I gave them way too much land up north, so we're going to be cutting off the whale's tail. Because they really only want the lime part, so the rest of this can just be split up. Or not, hold on. This is a temporary color. Although I still might take some non-lime territory, just not that much, probably. So yeah, most of this goes over to Golden Horde, Indus, and the pink team. They still do get a little chunk. Their capital is, of course, going to be their one major city. And I said it was a temporary color, but I think it's actually fine. Maybe we'll just make it slightly nope, slightly different because it's too close to Cyprus. But yeah. And with that, I think that is going to be the end of this episode. So Indus is a lot bigger. Some stuff happened in Northern Europe. And there's that partitioning in Central Asia. So goodbye.